signing and get started.
You sign the minutes too. Okay.
Is Mary online?
She was. Oh, Mary, do you want to give us a sound test?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
She doesn't have her video on right now. When she does, I'll be sure to put her up.
Okay. Jim, when you're set with the...
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good. I'll figure it out.
Okay, well, let's begin this meeting on March 21st. We'll start at 5:30. First order of business on the agenda is to approve the select board minutes for March the 7th. Would I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay. A second?
A second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any, I don't hear any nays, but Mary's silent, so, okay. We need a motion to accept the warrants or the invoices up to March the 21st.
So moved.
Okay. Any seconds out there?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Questions? Dave, you mentioned in your manager's report that we purchased a leaf blower. And I thought you were saying it was in this, but I didn't see it.
The leaf blower was for $5,200. If it didn't make it in, then it'll be in the next one.
Okay.
And again, that'll be 80%. So we'll end up picking up about $1,200 of that.
Great. Good. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, can all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are rolling along. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have none.
Nor do I. Public comments? I have one. I would like to thank, I believe again, Martha McGlynn for her years of service on the select board. I don't have the number of years, but just wanted to recognize Martha. In addition, I would like to thank Gordon Richardson for, I believe, 32 years of serving on the select board, of which 22 he was chair. Pretty remarkable, and want to personally say thank you, Gordon. Hope you're in the sugar house right now and enjoying life. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Going on to the new business. The first order of the business is the discussion about the Vermont Community Development Program grant and the application thereof. To move into a public hearing, I need a motion to suspend the select board meeting and I'm sorry, yes, suspend the meeting and resume or start the public hearing, if I get that correctly. Okay.
I'll make a motion to suspend the select board meeting and
Okay.
start the VCDP meeting.
The public hearing, great.
Then I'll second.
Great, thank you. We have Kevin Geiger with us and Dave, so I will turn it over to Kevin and Dave.
And I'll move right on to Kevin pretty quick, but just really quick is, I think most of you should know, if not, get you up to speed pretty quickly. Rec Center, ADA access has been problematic for many years at this point in time. So we did obtain support from Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission to apply for a grant for that. And as part of the grant process, there is a public hearing component, which is informational to, gather feedback if anybody has any, and to, get the word out that this project is going to be underway. First component is the planning component, and then once we follow that, we hope to go to implementation based upon the information that we gather from the planning component. That being said, Kevin Geiger is here from Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission. If he would.
Sure, just following up on that, Dave has the application. Unfortunately, and you may all have it, I don't know. But unfortunately, it does not print in a human-friendly form. But basically, it is to look at the rec center and do preliminary,
Just come up so that the owls
Oh,
pick
the
you
owl.
up. Yes, the
You
owls.
can pick up well, but you'll look prettier.
I'll look for you. So basically, we would do two things over there. We would do a preliminary engineering study for ADA work on the rec center, primarily ADA work, some drainage and stuff as well, and also do the preliminary historical clearance on the project. Any digging in the ground would involve historical clearance out there, and since this is federal money that passes through the state, and it essentially becomes a federal project, and so there's something called a Section 106 clearance, which is a federal environmental clearance. They're not worried about the building so much, they're worried about more what might be in the ground around there if there are archaeological concerns, and so they would, there would be a consultant hired to look at those things. This gets you preliminary engineering. It does not get you full engineering, but it gets you ready to go to the next stage, and so you know, okay, it would cost you about this much to do the full Monty out there, and the engineering for that would come in the second phase, as Dave said. The application is due April 12th. It's $60,000, which is, well, it's 59 and change. $60,000 is the maximum you can go for. And it does require 10% match by the town, so that's in the budget.
So at the end of this study, you'd have a rough cost estimate of the whole project.
Yeah, you've got preliminary engineering and a historical clearance. There may be additional work, but we would have figured that we'd get through most of the historical clearance work.
And you expect that there's also federal money for the construction itself?
Yeah, that, well, hopefully, so then you'd go, basically, if you're going to go for this type of funding, you're always going to be in a two-step process. So you'd always do this part, and then a year from now or something, you'd be going in for the next round.
Okay.
And this is HUD, Community Development Block Grant funding, and that goes for certain issues. One of those is accessibility access. It's just automatically a qualifier.
Okay.
Kevin, in the document, on page 1 of 13, you're right, it was a little confusing with the numbers. On item number 2, it mentions the that there was an extensive energy audit done
Yes.
by Earth Chair. And then when I look back at the scope, it doesn't mention anything about energy.
Correct.
So I was just wondering, well, your response, it seems like that was a deliberate,
Yes, because it's specifically focused on the ADA part. It can't be kind of a general fixing up the building type stuff.
sure. But you mentioned water penetration.
Yeah, because if there are issues that would affect the drainage, so if you're gonna build a ramp down into a building or things like that, we're gonna have electrical stuff down low, and you don't want that getting high.
Okay. That was really the only thing I picked up on, and there's, I think you did highlight that the building is actually an intergenerational use building, and I think that's pretty important to town on that part. Okay. Any other discussion points or questions for?
The ramp that was put in when we put in the unusable elevator, is that still usable inside?
Is the ramp still usable inside the
Yeah.
building? I don't know offhand, I haven't been over there lately.
I don't think it's wide enough.
Yeah.
As far as turning a wheelchair around, it's not, Rebecca, you may know that circumference, but it's pretty sure it's not. Yeah, okay. But the elevator will be addressed, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously to reach all the floors of that building, you need some type of elevator.
Yeah.
I just remember years ago, the front stairs alone are kind of steep.
It's for working out.
Yeah.
We were trying to level them by deteriorating the,
How do they judge who gets the money? Do they just, is like first come, first serve?
No, all sorts of people are applying into this pot. Typically, and the staff does a review of the application, and so it's the staff, not our staff, state staff. It's really their review of the application that tells the board, yes, fund this or don't fund this. What often happens is they have more worthy applications than they have money. And so then they'll be like, and that's happened to us on our own projects too, where they'll say, oh, yes, we should fund this, but we can't fund it now, come back in the fall. And then you just resubmit the application in the fall period, and sometimes you have to go through a couple rounds like that. But that's really how it goes.
Okay.
Last I knew, it was kind of competitive. They were kind of pulling money out of the ADA towards housing.
Yes.
That's still going on.
Yes, this is competitive, despite all the talk about buckets and buckets of money here and there this year. This bucket didn't get any bigger, really, and so it is competitive. This is competing against implementation projects, so, people who looked at their handicap stuff last year and now are getting ready to build, same pot of money, as well as housing projects all go through this pot.
Okay. I just realized that in the opening, you have the national objective, and LMI is checked.
Oh, that's a low and moderate income. So, and the reason that that's checked is whether they are or not, handicapped people are considered low and moderate income for federal purposes. So it's just like an automatic low and moderate income.
Do we need a motion to go forward with, or is it just an informational?
It's just an information, so it's a federal requirement that you have to have a hearing,
Okay.
in case anybody says, oh, don't do that.
So just,
Are there any comments?
I was gonna say, is there anyone online that has,
Oh, thank you. Do we have any raised hands?
I'm seeing hands, but now that they've been prompted, they might, so if we want to just wait a few seconds, maybe somebody wants to say something, but
Good catch.
No
You
names.
know, Kevin, there was the sheet that needed to be approved, signed by the select board.
Your, a resolution?
Yeah. I don't know if I included it in
Is
this
it page
packet.
9 of 13? Is that?
It needs to go with the application.
The minutes of this, meeting will have to go into the application, and, so that's the thing you're
The
saying.
9 of
page 9,
13,
yeah.
yeah.
And then we've already uploaded the town support and the region letter of support.
Yep, no, there's something that needed, you want me to take a real quick look
Yeah.
while you're here?
Any questions, Rebecca, since it is a public hearing? Any, Kate, with,
Do you have any statistics on how many people are using the rec center? Is that on the application?
I don't know offhand.
It's November.
I'm not sure.
We
either.
can talk
I
about the
didn't
groups.
see a
that
number,
use it.
just groups.
Yeah.
Sabrina Leonard raised their hand for a question.
It's probably John.
Shall I wait till Dave's back, or do you guys want
Why
to?
don't we do that? Who has her?
Sabrina Leonard?
Probably John Leonard.
Okay.
Who's the rec?
Right now, do we have any handicap patrons that we know of? Like, do we have wheelchair needs currently? Do
We have
immediate
recently had,
an
yes.
inquiry like, hey, I'm in a wheelchair, I need to be able to get in here?
Yeah, it's obviously a delicate balance with what can be asked. Yeah.
So right now, is it like a no, there's no way we can get you in, or we get the crew, the guys who work there, we get them to assist putting a
I think
temporary
it's a
ramp
little
in?
bit of both, and I also don't know anything about the daycare side, because that's also in play here. And I don't know if John is in fact online as opposed to Sabrina. He may have, at least from the rec program side, some numbers. I mean, the senior lunches used to be there. The Aging in Hartland's, the foot program, not the flip, but the foot.
Foot clinic.
Okay, yeah. There are exercises, classes in the morning for seniors, so it was used.
There's a note in here too that says if the Hartland Ordinance Administrator's Office, if they need to have an appointment with an elderly or disabled resident for a permit, he has to walk from the rec center to the town office to speak with the individual.
Okay.
We also have Alan Esmond, so whenever you want me to start allowing people to talk,
Yeah.
we have Sabrina or possibly John. So you go upstairs and go grab that. Yep. The single applicant.
Oh, I'd already filled it out.
Sorry.
Okay, there's some public comments that we're going to open up. We're waiting for you to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No worries. I'm going to allow Sabrina Leonard, or whoever's under that account to talk.
That's John Leonard, I believe.
Okay.
Hey, John, you gotta unmute yourself.
Hello, it's me. It's John. I didn't get a chance to change my wife's name off Zoom here. I just heard the comments about rec center, so I'm happy to help answer some of those questions. Currently, we house our after-school program there, which is around 20 students per day. The Hartland Cooperative Nursery School is upstairs. They have 2 classrooms. They have both a morning class and an afternoon class. I think right around 15 students per classroom and the instructors. For COVID reasons, we're not back to full numbers and full operation, but I think I heard you guys saying we do house senior lunches there once a month, where it's probably around 20 to 25 people that come and take advantage of that. We also have like a morning exercise group that uses the room upstairs with Rich Greenlee, right around 12, 13, 14 people in there as well. And then in the summer, our summer camp program numbers around maybe 30 per day, but we also have older kids that come in for a traveling field trip series. So pretty good amount of use in the building, but obviously the ability to get upstairs is an obstacle not everyone can make use of. The workout facilities upstairs and the nursery school is upstairs. So getting the ADA access up to code would be fantastic. I'm excited to see us take this step in the process.
Thank you, John. Was there another person waiting?
Yep. There was Helen Esmond. Okay, Helen, if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is Helen. I just want people to know that the Hartland Food Shelf Kids Program is based in the basement of the rec center. And we're there Thursday morning for a couple of hours, very briefly, maybe 5 or 6 volunteers. And I'm in and out during the day, but otherwise, I mean, during the week, supplying it and whatever, but that's all. But we do use the building. Thank you.
Helen, this is Phil. I'm not familiar with that program. Can you speak a little bit as to what it is?
Yeah, we package up kids' food for the weekends for the Hartland Elementary School. We do 2 days worth of food for kids who are needy. We don't know the kids. We take it to the school nurse and she distributes it through the teachers for the kids who need it. Okay.
Great.
And we store our food there. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else in the wings over there?
Not seeing anyone right now. If anybody else pops up, I'll be sure to interrupt.
Okay, thank you. Dave, you just passed out a resolution for the Vermont Community Development Program Grant Application Authority.
So it's just basically stating, so you see the 7 things there, it's just basically stating that those are true. So if the public comment period if public comments are done, what I would recommend is that you come out of the public hearing and re-enter your select board, and then make a motion to adopt the resolution and have each of you sign it. And
Okay.
So just one quick question, do we have to sign it in the presence of the town clerk?
he can sign it,
Yeah.
knowing that it's in the minutes and you met and it's on TV and all that good stuff.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to suspend the public hearing and resume today's select board.
You're gonna end the public hearing.
To end, did I say resume?
You said suspend.
Suspend.
It could go on and on.
It could go on and on and on and on, yes.
Kevin, I'll meet you around.
I move that we end the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. We are back to the select board meeting. So a motion to accept this?
Motion to adopt the resolution for VCDP grant application authority.
I'm looking for a date. Finding none, I would entertain a motion to accept the resolution for the VCDP grant application authority.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the resolution for the VCDP grant application authority as of today, which is March 21st,
Right.
2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Mary, you're out there?
Oh, yes, yep.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, that's good.
It's really exciting to have this.
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, it sounds like a very good project. Hopefully it all goes well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll get a copy of the resolution and a copy of the minutes. And then I'll talk
Right.
about those.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep, thank you. Then Dave and I will have fun in the state grant application.
Should we just sign this and pass it around?
Sign it away, just pass it right on down the line, and one of you can date it if you like.
Dave, do I need to come in and sign that?
Since it's 4 out of 5, I don't think it's necessary. You can if you'd like. Your name attached to the document would be fine.
Okay, we'll take a moment for that, and then let's go on to the next item, the commission and committee reappointments. Okay, who do we have for the Conservation Commission?
So Rob Andrade is online,
Okay,
and he is here to answer any questions that you might have. I will just point out, and I think I highlighted it in your packet there. I put the packet together almost specifically so you'd see it. But the Conservation Commission is a 4-year term,
right, we do have that.
and that is outlined in statute. And other than remembering that they are a commission, Mr. Andrade reminds me almost at least yearly that both it's a commission and that it's a 4-year term.
Thank you, Rob. Rob, would you like to make any comments?
There are 3 people whose terms are expiring this year. Myself, Chris Collier, and Sarah Wood. All 3 have agreed to continue to serve if the select board reappoints them. So that's where we stand.
Great. Any questions for Rob? I would entertain a motion to accept Rob, Chris, and Sarah as candidates for the 4-year position on the Conservation Commission.
I'll make a motion to reappoint the 3 candidates for the Conservation Commission for 4 years, Rob, Chris, and Sarah.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay,
Aye.
great. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Energy Committee, is Sarah Bruce available?
Sarah Bruce is online, and up for reappointment is Sarah Bruce and Laurel Stevenson. Sarah Bruce is available.
Sarah, would you like to make some comments?
Well, Dave really already explained why we're here. We have 2 members that are up for reappointment, myself and Laurel Stevenson. Both of us are willing to stay on. We are 3-year appointment, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. So I'm not quite sure what else to say, unless you have questions that I could try to answer.
Any questions?
No, I mean, my only real question is, do people want to stay on? If the answer is yes, we're good.
If that was a question, I didn't hear it.
Sorry, no, my only question was really, do both of you want to stay on? If the answer is yes, I think we're done.
I'm pretty sure that's a yes. In my conversations with Sarah and Laurel are very happy to serve another term.
I would move that we reappoint.
I'm sorry, I thought I said that we were both willing to stay on.
I move that we reappoint Sarah Bruce and Laurel Stevenson to the Energy Committee for 3 years.
I'll second it.
All in favor of those appointments, say aye.
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 Unanimous. Moving on to the Planning Commission. I see Kate and Rebecca here.
In person even.
In person.
Yeah.
Came down to staunchly oppose their reappointment.
The chairs, James Jeffries.
Charles Jeffries is the chair. I believe he personally sent both Kate and Rebecca to speak for themselves, which I think that,
Would you, esteemed individuals who currently serve on the Planning Commission, have any comments?
Well, I think, speaking for myself, I wouldn't want to speak for you, Rebecca. But I think I certainly am willing to serve another 3-year term.
Great, good, thank you.
I also am willing to serve another 3-year term.
Great. Hearing that, do we have any motions out there?
I'll move to reappoint both Kate and Rebecca for a 3-year term on the planning commission.
Second?
I'll second it.
Great. All in favor of the reappointments to the Planning Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
it's my understanding, based upon at least the email conversations back and forth, that the planning commission seemed more than happy to have them back. Just in case there was any doubts.
Right now, right?
And after finishing this, I'm sure you're all happy to tackle something different. So, the Recreation Committee, I'm not sure who the chair is of that committee.
John Leonard kind of oversees that committee. He was here. He has said his piece on the rec center and then seems to have forgotten his other responsibility tonight. But my understanding is John was here. Let me see if he still is a panelist. Yeah, he's still up. John, if you can unmute yourself.
I'm here.
He is still up as a panelist. He is still here. You want to confirm that the 4 want to be reappointed, and any comments you have?
Absolutely. So we had 4 members from the Recreation Committee that were up this year: Candy Gray, Chris Selza, Randy Strawbridge, and Chad Trebot. And I'm grateful that all 4 would like to stay on the Recreation Committee for another 3-year term. I'm excited that they want to come back, and it actually stimulated some 4th of July Old Home Day talk at the same time. So it was a good starter for this year's event.
Any questions for John?
I can make a motion that we reappoint the 4 3-year members to the Recreation Committee: Candy, Chris, Rendell, and Chad.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mandy. All in favor of the appointments for the Recreation Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are unanimous. The final committee is a regional committee, the Regional Emergency Management Committee. And Chet Pesho is the nominee. Dave, I believe you are also the town representative on that?
He is your emergency management director. I am automatically fixated to this committee.
Great.
Chet represents an emergency responder on the committee. It's a new committee, follows the outline or the boundaries of Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission, replaces kind of a older type commission that didn't follow those boundaries, wasn't quite as clear, didn't have the ability to really get grant funding or anything to that effect. legislature changed that around and has produced a new management, emergency management committee, and here we are.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to have Chet be on that committee.
I move that we appoint Chet Pacho to the Regional Emergency Management Committee. I guess as the second member, right?
Yeah, correct.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mandy. All in favor of the appointment for the Regional Emergency Management Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
I feel very strongly that this is an important item on our agenda tonight. I would like to make a couple of comments. First, a plug for the Cemetery Committee. If anyone is interested in learning more about the town, my quiz question is, why is there that big open space on the center of town cemetery? I'm sure some people know the answer, but
That's where the original meeting house stood.
I was going to see if anyone knew. So those are the kinds of things you can learn if you are volunteering for this committee. Please, if you're interested, either Tom Kennedy or Dan Moranci would be the contact for that. Second item is I want to recognize that Sarah Bruce and Rob Andre have been discussing and are moving toward having a meeting of the chairs of the groups to enable them to stay more informed about what's happening amongst the groups and to possibly work on collaborative projects. I don't know if those exist. So thank you, Rob and Sarah. The final thing is, it feels like a risk for me here because it's not a standard piece, but I am a fan of Wendell Berry and read a lot about his definitions of community and the health of a community. But I couldn't find any good quotes, so I'm going to read a piece of poetry. Could be a first here. It's called To Be of Use, and I think it's very applicable to all of the volunteers that we have here. It's by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shadows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not Pollard generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. There's more, but it's a way of me saying thank you to the members, and I really feel that as select board members, we give our time to working on the town, but as the commission and committees, you really help round out that functionality that we all need to work as a community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And may I ask a question?
Sure.
And so does this mean that you, Jim, are now full-time select board, no longer?
I think Charles and Dan and Jay are discussing it, but my guess is I'll help until
Okay,
they find a replacement, but it's really up to the planning commission as a whole.
okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Now on to really exciting stuff, more select board organizational and administration, part 2. we just signed earlier the accounts payable for whatever week was ending. And that also authorizes the payroll. So we need to have a select board member available to sign these documents at the town office in the off weeks. Mary O'Brien and Martha McGlynn have been the volunteers to do this in the past.
So I would like to make a motion to delegate Bill Hobby to sign the accounts payable during off weeks. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, I'm not here next week. So
Okay.
who is the second here?
I'm happy, I live a minute down the road maybe,
Okay.
so I'm happy to pop in. It's quite easy. I work from home.
Then I'll
make a motion that Mandy be the delegate on weeks that Phil is unavailable.
Okay, we got to finish the first motion, which is Phil. Okay, so I made a motion to delegate Phil to sign. Mandy seconded that motion. Now we have to vote. All in favor?
I was hoping you would miss it, Mary.
No, I did not miss that, Phil.
Okay.
Aye?
Okay, we're all in favor. Go ahead for the second one.
I'd like to make a motion that Mandy be the delegate on weeks that Phil is unavailable.
Okay, are there any seconds?
I'll second it.
All in favor of Mandy being the additional delegate to sign the AP during off weeks, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, let's exchange, make sure we have emails,
Yeah.
and cell phone numbers and stuff like that. Okay, apparently we missed the locating the official posting locations in town. Dave, help me. BG's, Mike's.
So we have 3 in town, Mike's, North Hartland Post Office, and outside the town clerk's office.
Okay. And we need an official motion to embrace that.
We should re-up that for another year.
Okay.
I move that the official posting locations be Mike's store, the North Heartland Post Office, and the town clerk's office.
And the
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay. All in favor of those posting areas, say aye.
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 Great. Motion passes. Next item is the ARPA committee charge. We have a document that is in your packet. I'd be, as a member of the committee, and Dave is an advisor to the committee, or a member of the committee. We can try to answer, and I don't know if anyone else, I know Sarah Bruce is on the committee. The chair, Greg Daniels, is out of town this week, otherwise he would have been here to talk about it. This is really an informational piece. The committee is wanting us to be sure that they're on track, and I can attest that they're doing a lot of work. Dave, would you make any comments?
Yeah, I think that the committee certainly wanted to, we kind of pushed them off into the bay, so to speak, and they're doing their work, but they just wanted to make sure that there was a clear understanding between the committee and the select board as to what their role was. And so and for transparency reasons, so the public understood what they were doing, and even amongst themselves, they had a clear, idea of what their role was and what they were to produce by June 6th, which is what the select board gave them for a date. And so they have put together this kind of simplistic charter, and they have put it back in front of the select board just to kind of confirm that, this is our, committee's basically saying this is our understanding of what we're meant to do. And they're kind of putting it back in front of the select board to say, hey, did we get this right?
So this is Mary. I've got a question. I was surprised to read under number 1 where it says, second paragraph, it says, I think it's the second paragraph, that they're going to make, the committee has been charged with blah, 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 and analyzing programs and projects proposed by the select board, town staff, members of the community, and by the committee itself. So I thought they were charged to analyze the projects that had been suggested by the process we went through at the 2 public meetings. I mean, they could come up with a whole bunch of ideas that nobody's ever heard of except the committee themselves.
Mary, I can make an attempt at answering that. And again, I don't know if there are other committee members. The committee is not coming up with brand new items. If they are, they'll pass that to us for consideration. But what they are doing is maybe combining some, and I really think that's what it refers to, is to try to refine the 56 items that are out there, and some really kind of fall into 1 or 2, or really should be 1. So I don't believe we are creating brand new projects, certainly not for the sake of, we already have the 56.
Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful.
Okay.
The 56 can be whittled down to less if things are overlapping.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm not sure it's divisible by 2, but it's we're trying. The other piece which the committee has been working very hard is to take the criteria to judge projects that was also part of the 2 public meetings, and to refine that and put values as to how we can begin to make a pass. A subgroup, Ione, Dave, myself, and Stacy have already ran through the 56, we took some of those criteria and said, which can be a yes, no. Is it ARPA related? Is there alternate funding? And help me with the third one, Dave. I can quickly look. We haven't eliminated a lot of the 56, but we have started to eliminate with those yes, no questions. It's a big process.
The goal is, I'm guessing you're trying to deliver a list. That's kind of in priority order or.
Correct.
Impact order.
It would be the recommendations of the committee, advising the select board as this is what they feel on that part. There are 1 or 2 projects that we're feeling really would be best served by perhaps the school as opposed to the town. So we're trying to whittle things through that way as well.
Sarah Bruce had her hand up.
Sarah, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
No, I was just going to say the other 2 are timeline and financial sustainability after 2026 when ARPA money is gone.
Correct. I just found my notes, and that's exactly what the third criteria is on that part. We're also reaching out to 2 Rivers to check to see what other towns are doing at this time, and to see if there's any possibility of multiple town projects. Some of you may have just heard or read there was an article in Vermont Digger within the last 2.5 weeks about an Uber-style, Lyft-style ride service. And so that, Mary, that could be an idea of how we may, there's a transportation issue, but if this idea that's floating around the state right now could become a regional project for Hartland with our surrounding towns, that may be an example of something that is emerging from an existing project that would look and feel differently. So, sum that up.
I think so. I think the question, I mean, is this closely resembling Mandy and Clyde? I know it's kind of hard, this predates you. You know, if you have anything that really sticks out of you, sticks out as an issue.
What's the action? Are we being asked to approve it or just?
I thought it was just an informational piece, but I could cut you off, Dave. What do you think?
I think approving it would be wise. I think that sends a message back to the committee that, you know, what this is endorsed. You know, I guess my only question would be, you know, Mary, whether you're okay with that language or whether you guys are okay with it as written or whether there needs to be a tweak there.
I'm fine with it. Phil explained it, and I just want to get moved, you know, encourage their progress on this. So I don't want to hold them up at all.
Just kind of a side note, I'm wondering if, you know, should we invite the committee chair to present like the status, how things are going? It's, you know, future select board.
You can, but they've only got 2 months left.
Okay.
You know, I think that, again, you know, they're a committee doing their thing. He was out of town today. I think an opportunity would have been for him. You know, you're gonna get a result, but I you know, we've delegated to them, and I think that, you know, they can do their work, and their minutes are online, and you can follow their progress kind of as they
That's
go.
what I was going to say, is that the minutes are out there.
When is the next meeting?
Would be
This Thursday?
this Thursday. Yeah, it's scheduled every other Thursday, but for the first 3 weeks, if not 4 weeks, every Thursday, and the subgroup met 3 times, I think, at least 2. So the folks that are on board are all very much in tune, and I think I would say it's very predictable that Jim would have a project and he would lobby for it, and Clyde would have a project and he would lobby for it, and Manny would have a project and then I would have, and then, so it's been an interesting piece. It's much like the whole general public is right there amongst the membership. So,
The ultimate decision comes down to us anyway.
yeah, exactly. I think, and it's very clear. Acknowledgement. So I think we are, then I would like to entertain a motion to accept the charter.
I'll make a motion to accept the ARPA Fund Advisory Committee charter.
Second.
Great, thank you. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
So let me just clarify. So the meetings are every other Thursday. We got one Thursday is 24th. They're at 6:30. They have been meeting via Teams. Excuse me, after the 24th, they're free to meet in person if they like, but this one was kind of preconceived. But,
Right. And Dave, you've been putting out the, to the public, the meeting information.
Yep, and the link.
And the link.
And I can pass it along to
Okay.
others as well if they like.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the engagement letter for the fiscal year 22 audit.
So this is a piece of information. It's a letter from our auditors to the select board as to what they are going to do for us come spring, summer, basically come June, the end of June and a little bit beyond. This is something that's been fairly standard for a good 15, 20 years. It's always been signed by the town or by the town manager, but was a change in accounting standards. It now goes to the select board as well. Technically, they do work for the select board. The report that they produce is to the select board. Any deficiencies, pertains to management, but is, to the select board. So, but again, this is kind of a template type letter to the board. Again, stating what they're going to do for the town, and we plan on having them in early June, July, to start their work.
This is the same auditors that performed this past year's audit.
Yep.
No, Manny and Clyde were not at this meeting, but I think we determined that there was a mistake, a material mistake that the auditors did not find, right? And I don't think we've heard back from them any type of amendment to their report. And I'm not sure if this would be a good opportunity to consider a different auditing firm.
So you wouldn't hear back. So how that would be handled is, so the report is the report. You can't change, this year's audit report. It's out into the public and it's to use. I'm not sure I would call it a mistake, Jim, to be honest with you. It was an adjustment that was made. Some of this is based upon communication with the town and their understanding of things. It's simply that the capital project fund should have $99,000 more in it, and the general fund should have $99,000 less. They reversed an entry that had been done by the town based upon their understanding of things. So what you will see come your next audit report would be a prior period adjustment. So it'll be in the notes, and it will affect essentially the opening balance sheet come the next report. And to be honest with you, I think that I'm very happy with budget. This is an item. It had to do with the loan that the town had been taking from the capital project fund for the Three Corners intersection, and that was we didn't end up going that well. Let me rephrase that. When we bonded for that project, that loan was paid back. And it had to do with that payback and the adjustment. Otherwise, they have, in my eyes, brought our financial statements up into the 21st century. They've brought us up into proper accounting standards. They've recategorized our funds to match, I think it's GASB 34 or 32, which kind of outlines how the funds need to be dated. So this is, they've been with us for a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 years at this point, but they were new to us. We had Angelano from Burlington for 18 years or so. To the point that Angelano wasn't willing to do it anymore. They kind of retired, and we brought Budget in, and they've changed some things around for the better. And we have had, it has not been the same auditor each time, kind of rotated around. We now have Bonnie, so, but the question to your adjustment that will be made in the next report, it'll be listed as a prior period adjustment. If it's actually made, if it's deemed needed to be, that's when they'll make it.
Thank you.
Dave, I have 2 questions. One, in the second paragraph, audit scope and objectives, in the first paragraph there, they talk about financial statements, that they will audit of the government activities. Looking ahead, because I don't think we've had ARPA activity this year, I'm not sure about that, but will they be equipped to handle the ARPA government transactions?
So ARPA will trigger, I forget the technical name of it, it's essentially a special audit. If you receive 750 grand or more in federal monies, it's called a single audit, sorry. So it'll trigger a single audit, of which case my understanding is Budget is capable of handling a single audit.
Okay, good. And you included a page from Love, Cody and Company, CPA, and it looked like it was attesting that Budget and Company were all doing the right thing according to the appropriate accounting standards. But then I noticed it was dated June 2019. So I didn't know why, what's the relevance now that it's March of 22? Is this just a standard?
So I think they get reviewed every 3 years.
Okay.
So every accounting firm that does audits needs to undergo a peer review, in which case it's an outside auditor, generally with additional special training to do a peer review.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they go through literally, it's kind of like an audit like they do of our financial statements. Mm-hmm. But they will do an audit of the various audits that they have done, for towns and municipalities or businesses throughout, and they'll take a look at that as to their practices and how they've handled those audits. Mm-hmm. And then that peer reviewer is obligated to kind of write a little bit of a report saying
Gotcha.
whether they did or did not comply with
Okay.
auditing standards.
Okay. I think that's it.
So I do need a motion to approve the engagement letter. I did bring one, I do have a copy without the little 4-5 on there, but whenever you're ready, I'll need that and to appoint you, somebody to sign on behalf of the select board. There's a place for my signature and a place for
Basically, you
your
want a
signature.
motion to hire Budget for the audit, correct?
Or to accept the
Or accept the
engagement letter.
proposal.
Yeah, I would accept the engagement letter, correct. And to, yep, I'm
I
sorry.
move that we accept the engagement letter from Budget General Commissioner for doing the audit of the 22 fiscal year.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, having a second, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Ayes have it. And we need they say the signature, we have a management
I think he's
signature.
looking to have someone appointed to sign it.
Ah,
I think. Are you looking to have a select board member appointed?
Yes,
to
please.
sign?
To allow for Phil to sign it would be awesome.
under the management signature?
Nope, there's a management signature and then there's a
Governance?
government after you.
That sounds pretty lofty. Okay.
I move that Phil be authorized to sign on behalf of the board.
I'll second.
All in favor of having sign this document, please say aye.
And you can sign.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, it passes. We're on to old business and the FY22 budget update.
Martin is here to give you a budget update. I generally have Martin speak for it. If you want to give us.
Mandy, Clyde, Jim, welcome aboard. Congratulations. I'll start with the revenues. The general fund revenue before the rec department, you notice, is at 99%. There's some library grant money in there. If that was to be removed, the actual general fund is short $9,900. I believe we will meet the general fund for the year, for the fiscal year by June 30th. The rec department, you can see, is a little shy. We did get the assistant director's money in the month of March, so that number jumps to actually 61%, even though this month will be 75%. The highway department revenues, as you can see, is above for the year. The state is paying a little more than what we had budgeted, about just shy of $2,500 each quarter that they're paying us. So we should end up a little over 6,000 more just from the state.
And that should arrive this.
By the end of June 30th, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions on revenues?
I get two educational questions.
Sure.
Maybe three. So I think this is the general fund. The North Hartland tax dam lots. I just didn't understand what that was.
Okay.
Go ahead, Clyde. You tell me every year.
Yeah. When they built the flood dam in '59, the
I would throw the question.
The lovely states to the south of us who are protected by the flood dam are supposed to compensate us for the lost tax revenue. Unfortunately, I think they're still using the 1959 assessed values to pay taxes on them. Because they took, 600 acres or so to build the dam, I think. Yeah. It's been kind of a bug in the craw of treasurers in the past.
And pilot payments, I mean, you covered this a little bit, but I guess the observation is it's only 25% of what we budgeted so far.
So they usually square that up in April.
Okay.
So by April, I'll have a check from them that will be anywhere from 15,000 to 50,000. And so when I update in May, I should have the true number on
Is
that.
pilot related to the North Hartland Dam?
No,
No, different.
that's related to the wildlife area up on Densmore Hill and the shooting range down on Ferry Road that are state-owned properties. Payment in lieu of taxes. And it ain't as much as it should be. Ask the city of Montpelier.
Oh, I bet.
Thank you.
Expenses through the end of February, the 8th period of the fiscal year, is at 67%. As you can see, the total we have is at 67.75, but it's actually a little bit less than that. As you see on page 1, administration is under budget at this point. I believe it's going to trend that way probably the rest of this year. On page 2, you can see the assessments is over budget at this point. We have a lot that we have to pay in July of the new fiscal year, so that's always catching up as the fiscal year goes on. The listers are expecting the overtime to ramp up over the next few weeks as they get the grand list ready and get ready for their June to the state. The clerk is under budget. He probably will stay under budget. He didn't have an assistant for a couple of months, so he had a little bit of a pickup there. On the finance department, as you can see, is under budget. The postage is over. We've sent 2 rounds of postcards reminding people about the HS 122 that is due April 18th of this year per state statute. They got a bright yellow card this time and a bright pink card back in November. Just a reminder. Page 4, as you can see, as we go down through, other than the North Hartland School is over budget at this point, we put up a fence I believe the budget will be able to absorb the fence this year, so we may not have to take the money out of the trust from the rec department. We're on track at this point to be able to absorb the fence that was installed.
Just one question on that page. Your building, the Martin Memorial Building.
Yes.
You may have already told me this in the past, I apologize if I forgot, but it was a $9,000 expense for repairs.
That's the North Hartland
That's
School,
North
that's what he was
Hartland,
just.
that's the
Oh, so I'm not that one, okay.
But I'm glad you brought up Martin Memorial. So Martin Memorial, you see the $1,700 expense we have? We ran out of oil. We're on automatic delivery. I've drafted a letter and sent it to Irving a couple of weeks ago and have not heard back. I gotta do a follow-up.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get the $1,700 reimbursed from Irving, as we should not have run out of oil. We're on automatic delivery.
But the repairs at the North Hartland School, I think you may have covered this in the past.
Yep, it's the fence.
Yeah, that's the fence.
That's the fence, yep, around the basketball court.
Okay.
The rec department, as you can see, is under budget at this point. They're kind of a wild shot towards the end of the year. The after-school program has seemed to really be picking up all of a sudden, so I think the expenses just might go up a bit. But John said he has 2 people leaving within the next little bit, so that could hamper the payroll part of it. The payroll may be down on the after-school program.
Martin and Dave, the budget monies that were proposed to be for the Foster Meadow trails, trail improvement or walkway improvement, are those in the rec department, or are they? I'm not sure where they are.
So it's kind of a, they're in a separate account.
Okay.
So it's essentially a balance sheet account. So all our accounts are accounted for in the audit. So the audit that you receive at the end of the year lists all the transactions or pluses and minuses and what the final balance is. And it's also in the town report. So that was, we put money into that, so that's where that lives.
Okay.
So what this is here is strictly your income statement, your revenues and expenses. So this is based upon strictly the money that was generated through taxation or program revenue or the pilot in lieu of taxes or whatever else we've got budgeted in grants, and then the expenses as well. So this is strictly the income statement. The other, again, the other accounts are listed for you, and that money is, that's where that money is.
Okay. So if we were to, hypothetically, if we were to start that project on the 1st of May, would that then show up as an expense against the balance sheet?
Possibly, you know, we sometimes, depending on how we do the accounting, sometimes the expense goes right against that particular fund. But I like it, and I think it's more appropriate that the expense pops up on the budget, and then we pull the money over out of that into the, it's a little bit more transparent this way.
Okay.
It's really not incorrect either way.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
On page 6, the town garage is over budget at this point. That will catch up by the end of the year. TJP, our lawn maintenance, start up again in April. Start up again in April, so that will make sense by the end of the fiscal year. Page 7, buildings and grounds, they're under budget at this point. I believe that's going to trend the same way for the year. Page 6. Page 9, appropriations. I always pay the appropriations in September when the first tax payment comes in. So that's always catching up through the fiscal year. That will be, actually that'll be under budget this year, as the Hartland Mutual Aid has not cashed the check. So I don't know if they've fallen apart or it's moved on, so.
I don't know. I know they were regrouping, but I don't know what's.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on there. So if they don't cash the check, we'll be slightly under budget for the year to date.
I think that part of it was that they had a website project.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they're going to use the money for. The library, as you can see, is over budget, but on the revenue side, you'll see there's $10,000 worth of grant money that came in. So if you offset that, they're actually at 67%. They're right on for the year to date as far as their expenses. So assessments and appropriations, we've overpaid by close to 100,000. If we back that out, the budget year to date, our fiscal year to date at this point, through the end of February is 62%. So we're 5% under budget at this point. As we're trending, taking a look at this month so far, I think we may end up 2% under budget year to date, with a few extra expenses that we weren't expecting in there. So, any questions on the expenses?
One more educational question.
Sure.
A couple of items I thought I saw around the Three Corners
Yes.
project. I mean, what types of things are we paying for now?
Engineering.
Just engineering.
Yeah, but if you look at the revenues, there's some grant money that's come in too that's kind of offset some of that. On the second page of the revenues. I think it's $12,000 or something like that.
We had been putting cash into a bank account that was actually generating some income for us with the market downturn.
We were last year, or 2 years ago at this time before COVID, we were getting 1.35. Last year we were getting 0.25 and it dropped last month to 0.2. So yes, we went from $1,670 to $1,700 per month down to $680.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
So yes, that's why that has dropped on the revenue side. On the highway side, it's kind of convoluted. You can see the year-to-date is only at 48%. We haven't done the paving. If we add the paving of $170,000 into that, we would actually be at 61% with the equipment fund added in there. So we're on track, on budget with the highway department. You notice the salt is down year-to-date. I have 2 more bills, I believe, that came in for about $5,000, so that will change in the next update. On page 2 of the highway fund, you'll see the equipment fund. We're looking to transfer over $154,693 at the end of the fiscal year if we have enough money in there. If I transferred that over now, we would be at 85% with 4 months to go, so we would be over budget. If the spending stays the same, we won't make it. So that number will probably change the closer we get to the end of the fiscal year under the equipment fund. So if the paving was added in, which we were supposed to do in the fall, that we're hoping to do in May, the highway department is under budget year to date.
So is the paving like set to go?
We are tentatively set for May.
Oh, so you get the contractors lined up and all that?
So this is for fiscal year 22 paving. So we haven't quite tackled fiscal year 23 paving, which we would hope to belt out in July or August or September.
Yes,
So
I think there's paving money, right, if I understand correctly, for fiscal year 2022.
correct, that 170,
Yeah.
the only reason I say that is because we're gonna be discussing real soon Clay Hill Road and paving there, which is a separate pot of money.
And
But
that's next year.
That's next year, but paving may actually happen pretty synonymously, but I didn't say that right, but anyway. May we hope to pave, which would be County Road, and then what's the one, Mace Hill and Bowers, and a portion of Queechee Road.
But I guess the question is, you've got a contractor locked in to do the work.
We awarded that last year. They were supposed to have done it in the fall, so we got Pike locked in for that. Well, I'd like to say locked in. Reasons why we didn't do it in the fall, I'm still just a little skeptical. I gotta say, Ukraine is really throwing a monkey wrench into paving prices and availability, and as is the market. But Pike was pegged last year. about this time to do the paving, and here we are still, but we're hoping for May that that gets done.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Martin?
On the paving, are they gonna do what they did on the, Brownsville and County is grind up and relay?
Yes, so County Road is going to get ground up. Yep, that's gonna get reclaimed.
Because the Brownsville Road is held up better than ever because of doing it.
That's great.
So we're spending the extra money to do less.
Both was, the whole segment is in need, as is Brownsville Road right out past Jennyville too.
Right. Yeah, and as Dave will point out in his manager's report, it's on the list, that we really have to be thinking about how to tackle the Quechee Road. I mean, it's not, there are some engineering tasks on that that are just beyond tearing up and putting down new pavement.
Up beyond Gilson, right?
Correct. Yeah, that little drop off there. And Clyde, I came today and realized how bad the frost heaves were on Quechee Road coming in from Quechee between Clay Hill and Draper. And I quickly remembered what a challenge it was when it wasn't.
It's like Patty Talbot.
Right. Oh gosh, you never saw the light of day, and that side hill would just be bleeding water.
Yeah.
Right down there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We are on to manager's update.
So COVID, here we are, meeting in person, no masks. We hope to continue that right through, and we will hopefully keep things an eye out and open things more. Asterisk on that whole comment is that things are perking up again in Europe and in China, so hopefully it stays over there. But as the news has readily pointed out, the U.S. tends to follow Europe as to a curve. So hopefully we don't revisit Omicron anytime soon, but just beware that there is still activity out there. Three Corners intersection. So as of today, not only do we have our 1111 permit, but we received Federal Highway Administration approval, and we have officially gone out to bid. So that is a historic moment here in Hartland. Again, we're not at construction. The excavators aren't outside, but certainly kind of captivates a 10 to a 12-year process. Not to mention, I think if you go through the minutes and other things back to the 1960s, I think that they've been talking about this intersection. But big step for us. Bids are due back April 15th. So again, by the time we have the contractors on board and we've had a chance to talk construction planning, so we're going to be in early May before we know exactly how this is going to play out. So at the moment, the word is that, yep, we're a go, it's moving forward. If anybody wants details as to how am I going to get through the intersection, is this lane going to be open or is that lane, how are you going to do it? We don't know those specifics yet, but we're getting closer. Highway Department, pretty obvious. Yes, we are into mud season at this point. They were out putting coal patch down today. Again, it works, but not as well as the hot patch. But again, we need to wait until warmer weather for that. In the meantime, we are plugging the holes, so to speak. The big news here is the last paragraph of that particular number 3 item. So I attend quarterly, they're called TAC meetings, Transportation Advisory Committee meetings that run through Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission. does involve V-Trans. Essentially, long story short, Mill Street Bridge has popped up on a list of bridges that the state is looking to move forward with essentially infrastructure money. So this is good news. I don't believe it's been finalized by the legislature. It's a little bit early for that. However, I did attend a VLCT legislative update today, and I believe it is moving along fairly easily in the legislature. It's my understanding that so far, bridges is where the money is on that infrastructure. The other grants and programs that we rely on through V-Trans for roads, et cetera, has been funded kind of as is, or they've been fully funded, but not any big increase due to the infrastructure money. So the original or the initial focus seems to be on bridges, and Mill Street Bridge has popped up. Martinsville Bridge has popped up on a secondary list. So it is getting attention, and I put it in my update, but you know, this is communication between Two Rivers, District 4, myself. When Mill Street Bridge went down, certainly it kind of popped up on everybody's radar that you know, this has been on the bridge inspection list for 10, 12 years as needing to be addressed. So it's premature, but it's positive news for us, I think.
Dave, can I stay on the bridge for a moment? First off, just for my own information, is if I'm going north on Mill Street, is which bridge, first one or second one?
Second one.
Second one, that's what I thought. When I read this, I was wondering if, as a select board, we should write to our congressional delegation. I don't know if any of our members are on any of the transportation committees that would be involved with this. I mean, or should we at the very least go to John Bartholomew and say, help us navigate this?
Yeah, I think he can. I don't think he needs help navigating it. I think that V-Trans is pretty on this. This is all wrapped up in the infrastructure money, and I think the legislature is pretty on board.
Yeah.
You know, I think you can put a plug in his ear and just say, you know, any little pat on the back you can give it, that's good.
Sure.
But based upon what I heard today, I think it's moving through pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just also so aware that as you drive up Route 5 and look at the interstate bridges, how rough shape those bridges are in. So I'm sure that list has a lot of priorities. But this is a covered bridge. So I think personally, I will reach out to John and just say this is important to us, and if others want to do the same, that might be useful.
So, yeah, so outside of that, again, I've got brain fog on here. It is truly Brian fog. I myself am in a fog when I'm putting this out there.
Just one other, well, it's probably spell check is killing you. But one other, on Mill Street, right? I mean, I think we had hoped to have some engineering assessment done in the spring, fall, right? Because we really don't know weight limits or what kind of condition that bridge is in. So does this delay that, or can we still push forward with that?
So as a town, we're very comfortable with the 10,000 pound weight limit.
How do you know it's not 2,000 pounds if nobody's ever looked at it?
It gets inspected every 2 years.
But nobody's done a load assessment on it, ever.
I wouldn't say that. They did an assessment on all the covered bridges in the state of Vermont. I feel comfortable with the 10,000 pound limit. If they come through and it's in worse repair, then they will notch it down. I think that I prefer that than going up. I think there's a danger in that based upon what we've seen. We are going to do the decline leading into the bridge, hopefully this spring or early summer, which was kind of a cause of that rot that occurred. But if this goes forward, I think we'll see an engineering assessment on that bridge fairly quickly. More so than we could do probably outside the normal scope of things. Back to the listers. Just more so for Clyde and Mandy, I brought this up last meeting that basically said, Brian Fogg and then, we went ahead and hired them. Two former people involved in the lister's office. We are reappraising the 3 hydro dams. This has to do with the agreement that we had with the North Hartland Dam. It dates back to at least 95. It rolled over in like 2005 or 2010, somewhere in there. That is, their license has technically expired, although they didn't get it renewed, they got it extended. But with the expiration of their license comes the expiration of that agreement. And so we're taking a look at the appraised value of that dam. To kind of coincide with that process. And we decided to take a look at the other 2 dams at the same time.
That's the one that, on Mill Street, by the bridges, that's expired.
No, the actual one out by the federal dam,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the 3 are the 2 there on the Ottaquiche and then the Martinsville one.
Yeah, J-Bo Aries.
Yeah, I was, he has a name for it. I was just
Martinsville Hydro.
Yeah, okay.
So in your packets, you got a town plan update. It is added some extra space in your packet. Wasn't anything for tonight. However, there will be a public hearing on April 18th for the select board. We need to have 2 select board hearings on the town plan update. The planning commission will be here April 4th to kind of hand this off, kind of our work to now you. And I do emphasize that at this point, now that it is in the select board hands, this is now a select board document. You are free to do as you choose. You certainly can take it as, planning commission has done their work and we've delegated to them and take their work, or if there's serious issues, the select board can make those changes or propose to make changes anyways. Still have statutory requirements that a town plan needs to follow, so you can't just, axe a complete chapter and say, heck, we don't want to comply with that part of the town, state statute. But I do emphasize that because it has now passed from the planning commission to the select board. Select board approves or adopts the town plan, but it is yours at this point in time. There will be 2 public hearings. First one is certainly for input. That may be a good time to just hear public input back on the draft itself. If there are any changes that you want to make, perhaps you can wait until after that public hearing. You've had a chance to kind of read it, have the chance to hear the public input. Again, you can adopt it as is. It's kind of, it's in your hands. So just kind of put it out there as that, but there is, the second public hearing will be dependent upon it. There's a certain amount of statutory days that you need to go between first and second, but I think the whole process can't take more than 120 days. At some point we will have a second public hearing, but just know that that's what we've got coming down the pike over the next month. I do hope to have a copy that shows the edits, so you can actually determine what the changes are between the 2017 draft and this one.
I had a copy like that, and it was extremely difficult, but useful. I would be interested to see what they changed since their public hearing.
So I've been harping on Mr.
Jeffries.
Geiger,
Geiger.
Kevin Geiger, to get that to me. Apparently he's supposedly having troubles with it. Supposedly a button you press and Word can handle it, but
Blame it on the software. It's just like,
he says it, you know, after a couple hours, the thing is still going around in circles, but I poked Mr. Gregory to see if he can make that happen a little bit quicker, so we'll see.
Is Two Rivers and the Planning Commission part of the public hearings?
So Kevin Geiger will be there. The Planning Commission is there as, you know, members of the public.
Well, I mean, the reason I ask is because if the public has questions, you know, the select board is not necessarily in a position to answer the questions.
So we will, you know, so at the moment I have Sean McGranigan reading through the plan and trying to differentiate between what's been written and what's there. So if there's any in-depth questions as to, you know, why on earth was this put in there, you know, what's the rationale for that? And, you know, there's, you know, Charles is a part, you know, is there, you know, he can speak on part of the planning commission if the select board feels the need to have the planning commission weigh in on something like that. So yes, I mean, you know, they are, you know, there is a public, you know, as far as the public hearing goes, and they can weigh in. At this point, it's a public hearing for, you know, select board.
I think I've managed to go through half of it so far and found a few errors, like misnamed streets and stuff like that.
We can we can add those edits, but and again, there's I've seen it go either way. Town of Norwich, you know, they got hung up on affordable housing, and I think the select board changed it. You know, parts of that plan, it was kind of a big thing in Norwich on the town plan on affordable housing, and other towns just simply, you know, kind of adopt it as is.
Yeah.
okay, so lots of reading ahead for everyone. I can attest that it's really exciting, but very important. I think this past fall, there was a Act 250 hearing, and our planning commission was hoping to go this direction, and the Act 250 commissioner said, sorry, your plan doesn't really say it that way. Yeah. So it is important for land use as well as town growth and development. Recreation.
We hit recreation pretty hard. I think basically the ADA access. Last thing I'm really gonna harp on you is roads and bridges. Again, the state looks as though they're making money available for the bridges, of which we will be hopefully a part of. Just kind of put it out there, just on Clay Hill alone, particularly with pricing due to Ukraine and other things, and to kind of grind that up. Clay Hill, if anybody's been out there, in pretty rough shape, beginning to end. Has potential to be upwards to a $700,000, you know, project if we do both sides. You know, even if we do one side, that's 350 grand. So we are budgeting 200 grand for paving these days. So that, along with the mile a year of ditching that we need to do by 2035. The box culverts, particularly out by you, Clyde, on Jennyville, and some other things. Obviously, you've got input coming down the pike from a committee that's going to make recommendations to you. I just put it out there that they relaxed what we can use this money for when they come out with the final guidance in January. Just keep that in the back of your head that we've got endless items on our roads, bridges, ditches, and buildings that need attention.
I agree that it's going to be a hard call, and we could spend the entire allocation of ARPA on rebuilding Name Your Road, the Pucci Road, or you just sort of said it could be $700,000 just to do the Clay Hill piece. So it's going to be an interesting balancing act.
That's all I got.
Okay, Dave.
Other than you, I know you want to make a little
Yeah,
on
I'll
this.
make a pitch for the correspondence piece. Thank you for including it, Dave. I have attended the Select Board Essentials in the past. It was actually called when it was in person, the spring seminar. I forget the catchy title they had for. But I would ask you to please check this out, and certainly the town will pay your expense. We are PAF, how do you say PACIF?
Passive.
Okay, members. But the Vermont League of Cities and Towns does do a good job with this. If you're available, please consider it. I think they're all remote. I don't see if I was looking at the website, and the website was a little more confusing. This condenses all. Okay. If it wasn't remote, it probably would have been on a Saturday morning, and I would hope a bunch of us could have gone together or together to it.
Do we know how long the classes are? You know, if they're an hour
They're
or
like
a day?
3 hours or
3
so.
hours.
So it's like, three 3-hour classes.
Okay.
If you're in, actually, it's a great resource, the VLCT website. If you go, have a little bit more info. That was an email that came to me. I just printed it off and kind of put it in the packets.
Yeah.
They've got upcoming seminars and other things. They got ARPA. They got,
I think the first one is Thursday, right?
Yeah. And the rules and procedures that hopefully we'll get to next meeting around the 18th. I took off of the VLCT site for Select Board rules and procedures. Yeah, I've attended some tree seminars, an ARPA seminar. They're fairly, very professional and informative. Okay, any other correspondence that we're aware of? I am away for the next meeting. I will be remote. I asked Mary, who is your vice chair, to chair the meeting in person to make the flow a little bit easier. And with that, I would take a motion to, Jim.
Just thinking about some items that we haven't necessarily resolved yet. That may want to track on for future agenda items. One, for example, how we want to administer the Merrick Campbell Fund going forward. Right? I think another, which I'm sure is going to be part of the plan anyway, but just how we communicate around the Three Corners project.
Yeah, on the, we are proposing on the April 17th
Okay.
Meeting for the rules, procedures, and the Merrick Campbell. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's my own date. That's when I was recording the items that you're mentioning that we have to get them on the agenda. I'm sorry. 3/17 happened.
It was a fuzzy day. So then the Three Corners communication, Mill Street, we kind of already talked about a little bit, and that's
Yeah.
on the radar, so that's good. And then if we want to do anything around, preventive actions related to the Garvin Hill project.
Mhm. Okay.
So, just things to consider for future agenda items.
Yeah, and I also, I have that same list, and I also have, I wasn't sure if the ARPA Advisory Committee would be giving some sort of monthly update or just checking back in. But that, I don't want us on June 6th to be kind of hit with something that we don't really know what's coming down the pipe.
I'm going to try to attend the meeting in April, but the next couple of meetings, I think I have conflicts.
Okay. Yeah.
So just to get caught up, not to be a participant.
Yeah. As I mentioned, it's an interesting meeting, because even though people are trying to be they're trying to be neutral, but certainly people have certain categories of projects that are very important to them that we'd like to see.
Someone really wants to focus on roads and infrastructure. Won't say who.
Basics are all important. It's tough to build off of a foundation that is.
I think I'm the only person in Hartland who likes the roads.
Before we drift too far, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And we don't need a second.
7:15.
Mary, thank you very much for your note-taking.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone, and it's nice to actually meet in person. May it continue.